Once bustling downtown office buildings now sit empty following the pandemic-induced shift to remote work. I'm Tisha Powell.
And I'm Lee Zurich. So much so, in 2024, the nation's office vacancy rate hit a record 20%. And that has cities searching for ways to bring new life into those shuttered spaces.
Reporter Heather Graff explains one approach viewed by some as a potential fix to two parallel problems: vacant offices and a housing shortage.
Walk sign is on to cross 20th Street.
Foot traffic in any city is essential. And for a long time, downtown office workers were considered guaranteed customers for nearby shops and restaurants. But the signs are clear in many areas that's no longer the case.
Even before COVID, the office market was having issues. I think COVID just expedited it.
Gary Cohen is a developer in Washington, D.C., whose grandfather built this office building in the 1960s. Their first tenant was the U.S. Department of Labor, and after that, the high-rise served as Peace Corps headquarters for several decades, until it became vacant in 2019.
So we weren't having a lot of luck in finding tenants. We couldn't find anything.
So in 2022, Cohen's family-owned company began turning this office building into residential apartments.
You know, I love cities. I believe in cities. I believe people want to be in cities. So we looked into it and we spoke with our builder, we spoke with architects, we did a whole study and everything checked the box.
A decision that made Cohen's project part of a now growing trend. According to a recent Rent Cafe report, office to apartment conversions have more than quadrupled nationwide, from about 12,000 apartments in 2021 to more than 55,000 in the pipeline in 2024. The D.C. region leading the way alongside places like New York, Chicago, Cleveland, Atlanta, and Charlotte. All of them among the top 20 metro areas trying out this approach.
The vision here is we need to recreate our downtown areas. We need to make them vibrant.
Stan Van Nieuwerburg is a professor of real estate at Columbia University's Business School. And as the prevalence of remote work has left more offices empty, he says this type of redevelopment could help cities address several big issues.
I do. I think at the end of the day, we have too much office and we have also too little housing. And so I think if we could convert just a part of these offices to residential units, that would actually greatly help both.
But at the same time, his research found just a fraction of U.S. office buildings can realistically be repurposed for housing.
So based on their physical attributes, I would say somewhere between 10 and 20% of the office stock.
He says a building's structure is oftentimes the biggest barrier.
Let's go to the 9th floor.
And as Cohen showed us around during the final stage of construction,
Just be careful here.
he explained how this building's corner location, high ceilings, and windows on all four sides helped make it doable to go from boardrooms to bedrooms and cubicles to kitchens.
Ta-da!
A total of 163 new apartments, now known as the L.
We ripped everything off. All the electrical, all the mechanical, all the plumbing.
Quicker than a complete teardown, though he admits that massive overhaul wasn't easy or cheap.
You know, there's a lot of unknowns. There's not like a roadmap on, hey, here, oh, you got an office building here. Here's how you do it. Every single building is different.
In D.C., where the office vacancy rate rose to a new high of 22.4% in the second quarter of 2024, local leaders have pointed to Cohen's building as a success story. The L's ribbon cutting, touted as the first post-pandemic office-to-residential conversion to open in the downtown core.
We're celebrating that. We think that's important, and we think that this will prove concept for future buildings.
Leona Agaritas leads the neighborhood's business improvement district and has worked closely with city officials on ways to catalyze these conversions.
Everybody across the globe is thinking about this.
And Nina Albert is D.C.'s deputy mayor for planning and economic development.
The city is not dead, right? No city is dead. In fact, we just need to pivot. We've focused primarily on a financial incentive.
Specifically, she says their plan calls for a 20-year tax abatement available to developers who agree to include a certain percentage of affordable housing in their conversions.
This is going to be one of our premium units.
And while that offer was not finalized in time for Cohen's project, he believes government subsidies must absolutely be part of the equation moving forward. especially in cities that want more affordable apartments.
I think it's incumbent upon them to help give incentives to developers to kickstart these things. But with that said, I think you'll ask a lot of developers and they may say that's still not enough.
How much interest and questions are you getting from other developers about this?
A lot. Been wanting to see the building, asking questions on how are you making this work, explain to us, how you came through this challenge or how'd you deal with that challenge.
His best advice for now is that these conversions are not a panacea, but perhaps a step in the right direction
I think it's one of the solutions.
amid the changing landscape of cities.
Not far from that newly converted building in D.C., this issue also has the attention of lawmakers on Capitol Hill.
Would it be helpful if the federal government offered a subsidy of some sort or some sort of incentive?
It would be very, very helpful if there was some sort of federal subsidy, could be very helpful with some sort of a conversion tax credit, perhaps.
That question and answer came during a 2024 U.S. House subcommittee hearing, and since then, lawmakers introduced bipartisan legislation that would provide a federal tax credit for commercial to residential conversions. It would require an affordable housing component in exchange for that tax credit. In Washington, D.C., I'm Heather Graff.
In order to meet the current demand for rental housing, the National Multifamily Housing Council estimates that by 2035, the U.S. needs to build 4.3 million apartments.
Yeah, Texas, Florida, and California account for more than 40% of future demand.
Another report found just 34 homes exist for every 100 renter households at or below the federal poverty line.